It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And let's go to Michael Goodwin.
Absolutely. Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Michael Goodwin. Michael, you wrote a really powerful comment how they are blaming the victim if it's Trump. I mean, you see it. They're blaming him for his rhetoric for causing the second assassination attempt. Give me a break.
It is extraordinary, Rita, that the Democrats and their media handmaidens have been able to sort of find some way that they can blame Trump. You know, normally blaming the victim is taboo among the left, right? It's always somebody else's fault. But certainly when it's Donald Trump, it's always his fault. It's an extraordinary sleight of hand, but along with so many other things these days, it's no longer surprising. This has now become their way of doing things, that there's no honest disagreement. There's no such thing anymore. You've got to see it their way, or you're corrupt, you're a racist, or something. And in this case, I mean, this is the end of an era where you can trust, where there's a middle, where there's an understanding that violence is not acceptable in politics. Now it's kind of acceptable if it's Trump.
Yeah, how sad is that? You know, we were talking, Rudy Washington's in the studio, former deputy mayor of New York, along with obviously John and the judge. And you know, it's amazing. Any other time, you think back, you know, years ago, had there been an assassination attempt on an American president, I don't care what political party you're from, you would be pounding the table and saying, we need answers. And yet, yesterday, even Kamala Harris was asked at this National Association of Black Journalists. She glossed over it and then goes right back to saying how much she hates Trump and hates his rhetoric. And then Karine Jean-Pierre at the White House continues to say he's a threat to democracy.
Oh, my God.
I mean, within a day or two. This is disgraceful, Michael.
I see it as a dog whistle, Michael.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Look, I mean, the whole idea of prosecuting him with all of those cases, that's new. So, you know, no president, no former president has ever been indicted on any charge. And I doubt that they were all angels. I think that what we should understand is that previous generations knew something about the country. They understood the fabric that held America together. And I think that this leftist tilt now of the Democratic Party, they don't understand. Of course, we know they want to erase history. They want to rewrite history to match with their view of what should happen next. But one of the things that's happened is that they are erasing all of the standards of behavior, all the normal things that we could count on and expect. And those are the things, the sort of things, the expectations, the trust that you have in society. These things are built over time. And I think what we're seeing now is an erosion, not just of trust in the media and trust in all the government. I mean, that's now almost doesn't need to be said, but we're also seeing an erosion in behavior. Yeah. And if they're going to normalize political violence, then we're all in for the whirlwind, because this is something that's not easy to stop once it gets started. And I'm afraid 2 assassination attempts on the president within a matter of a month or so. What's next? What happens next? And how does the country react to that? As you say, Kamala Harris kind of brushed it off. You know, they don't want to give him any sympathy. They don't want to see anybody vote for Donald Trump. And so they'll just keep attacking him.
And Michael, this is Rudy. And I was telling them in studio today how disappointed I am in the fact that, you know, I don't remember Eisenhower, but I do remember Kennedy. I was in grade school. And every president that I can think of, if you put a fatwa on a sitting or one of our presidents and a nominee, the sitting president will tell you if you harm a hair on that person's head, it is an act of war, and I'm coming for you. Every president I can think of would say that, no matter Democrat or Republican. We would not have allowed a country to put contracts on our presidents. We wouldn't allow it. And now all of a sudden, everybody is silent. Biden hasn't spoken a word about it. I mean, where are we going as a country?
Well, and I think you're absolutely right, Rudy. And I would add to it, it reminds me of how this White House and the Democratic left are treating anti-Semitism.
Oh, that's another one. They've been silent. Yeah. And guess what? Yeah, the media hasn't asked Kamala Harris one question about it. Why were y'all silent during all of the middle of this? Why haven't you directed your Justice Department to charge some of these people with hate speech, especially the ones that were not students in these universities?
Yeah. I mean, all the students, I think almost none of them have been expelled for the things they did. And as you say, the outsiders, they get arrested, they get released. We have a lot of violence in this country now. Police are not safe. Every day you're seeing police officers getting shot around the country somewhere. And so this rising tide of violence is something that has now entered the political bloodstream as well. And I think we're in for a real mess if we don't get a handle on this and we don't have a united front that says here's the line and you have crossed it and never again. And the media's got to be part of that. Instead, they are with the Democratic Party in blaming Trump, blaming the victim for his own being the target. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's happening before our eyes. And I think many of us feel we just want to shout from the rooftops, stop the madness. But so far, it marches on. Yeah.
And the fact that the White House, I brought up Karine Jean-Pierre because obviously she speaks for the president and Kamala Harris because it's the White House spokesperson. You know, the fact that she would actually say that Trump is a threat to democracy. And then she went back to the old canned line of January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? To Rudy's point, a president has just had an attempted assassination 2 days before that. And that's what she goes back to. And she was actually angry at Peter Doocy of Fox News for asking the question and said, yeah, he is a threat to democracy. Like in other words, they will say anything to win. They would put him in danger, I believe, to win.
Well, you know what it reminds me of, Rita, too, is remember the whole thing, rape, right? How, the woman was dressed in a certain way. I mean, we changed that. That was a horrible thing. It's like she
shaming the victim, right? Exactly.
That's right. And this is another version of that same thing. When you don't want to accept the responsibility, when you want the victim to share in the responsibility for the crime, you blame the victim for wanting it. And I think that's the question. If I were Peter Doocy and I had the chance that he had, I would have asked one more question. Well, does that justify what happened now? Are you saying these assassinations are based on facts and based on his record? Aren't you condemning them? No, they're not condemning them except in a perfunctory way, if at all.
Yeah, and that's the sad reality. And you know, just to your point, even at the National Association of Black Journalists, they didn't even ask her about the assassination until it was half hour, 40 minutes in. She does text about it for 10 seconds, and then everybody moves on. Are you kidding me? I mean, it doesn't matter who it is, Republican, Democrat. It is disgusting, and it shouldn't happen in America, and everybody should be condemning it. But they glossed over it, and she glossed over it, and Biden has glossed over it.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're supposed to be journalists there, too, right? They were his Association of Black Journalists. If you're a journalist in a room with the vice president who's running to be president, and her opponent has been targeted twice, you would think just the journalist in you would want to know more about how she feels about that and what they're going to do about it. I mean, the follow-up questions about the Secret Service are obvious, right?
Yeah, and there wasn't a follow-up, Michael. You saw it. There wasn't a follow-up. It's shameful.
Well, Michael, did you hear we had the Attorney General of Florida on a little while ago, and Florida does not trust the federal government to review the possible indictments. I mean, they're going to do an investigation on their own.
I saw the governor talk about that. I believe it was yesterday, that because the FBI has been involved in the prosecution of Trump's and the Justice Department, he wonders whether the FBI can be trusted. I think it's a fascinating argument. I was surprised to hear it, but when he spelled it out, and as again the AG did today, you have to admit there's some logic there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michael, thank you
Thank
so
you, Michael.
much. Michael Goodwin, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.